The alien hospital was quiet that day. Cold lights hummed above smooth silver walls. Soft footsteps echoed as nurses in long teal robes moved between patients. But something was different about room 93. Inside that room, a human male was lying, unconscious on the recovery bed. He was the only human in the entire wing. His body was still, hooked up to alien machines that blinked with strange colors. Nurse Kelza walked in holding her data pad. She was a tall alien woman with pale violet skin and wide green eyes that shimmered like water. Like most of her species, she was calm, logical, and not easily surprised. But today, her hand was shaking slightly, human vital signs. "Steady," she whispered, reading the pad. "But there's an anomaly?" Kelza blinked twice and looked again. The scan was showing something strange between the human's legs. She frowned. It was swelling, inflammation, a thermal spike in that region. Her species reproduced through spores. This type of physical change was unknown to her. "Strange," she whispered, walking closer to the bed. The human's name was Lieutenant Jason Reid. He had crash-landed 3 nights ago after his shuttle was damaged in a plasma storm. He had burns, broken bones, and low oxygen levels. The alien medics had saved him. But now, something else was happening. Kelza hesitated. Was this a medical emergency? Or just a human feature? She tapped her pad, requesting backup analysis. But the central AI system flagged it as unusual. Biological reaction, not in database. She stood frozen, unsure what to do. Suddenly, Jason stirred. His chest rose, and a soft groan escaped his lips. Kelza jumped back slightly. It was the first time he had moved since arriving. "He is waking up," she said softly, pressing the intercom, alerting Dr. Trellin. But then she looked down again, and the inflammation had increased. The machine started blinking red. Body temperature rising, blood pressure up, heart rate spiking. Something was definitely happening. Kelza tilted her head. "Is he in pain?" she asked aloud. But Jason groaned again, this time deeper. He opened one eye, blinking against the light. Where am I?" he murmured, voice dry. Kelza leaned in. "You are in the medical bay of Orlan Space Station. You are safe. You crashed. We treated you." Jason blinked again, then his face suddenly to ENSED. Kelza noticed. "You are experiencing discomfort? We notice swelling in your lower torso region. I will relieve the pressure." His eyes widened. "Wait, what?" Kelza reached for a cold scan device, unaware that she was touching a part of human anatomy considered sensitive. Jason's heart rate jumped again. "Please do not move," Kelza said calmly, holding the scanner near him. "You don't understand," Jason said, voice strained. "That's not inflammation." Kelza paused. Her eyes scanned the data once more. "Not a threat? Not an illness?" Jason gave an awkward nod. "No, it's a normal reaction. Humans get it sometimes. It's not dangerous." Kelza blinked slowly, absorbing the information. Then she looked down once more and tilted her head in pure alien curiosity. "Is it supposed to be this big?" Jason turned red. "Can we please talk about anything else?" Kelza took a step back. "My apologies, Lieutenant. We do not fully understand human responses. I will adjust the environmental setting to reduce your heat levels." The room lights dimmed. A soft mist of cooling air filled the space. Slowly, Jason began to calm down. His heart rate steadied. The machines returned to green dot, but Kelza couldn't stop staring at the pad. "Your biology is truly strange," she whispered. Just then, Dr. Trellin entered the room. He was an older alien, wise and stern. "Status report, Nurse Kelza." She stood straight. "The human is awake, Doctor. Vital signs stable. However, There was an unexpected swelling in the lower region of his body. I believed it to be medical in nature. Dr. Trellin glanced at Jason, then at the pad. A long silence followed. Then the old doctor gave a rare chuckle. "Ah, the mating reflex," he said. "I encountered it once 20 cycles ago. With another human." Kelza's eyes widened. "Mating reflex?" "Yes," Dr. Trellin said. "It is complicated and awkward, but not dangerous. Let him rest. And perhaps give him some privacy." Kelza nodded slowly as she stepped out of the room. She looked over her shoulder at the human. Jason was lying there, eyes closed, face red. But deep inside Kelza's mind, a spark of curiosity had begun to grow. What else about humans did she not understand? And why did she suddenly want to know more? The lights outside the room were soft and blue. Kelza stood by the glass, her hands still shaking slightly. She had seen many wounds, many species, many strange things. But nothing like this. Nothing that made her so confused and curious. The human had called it normal. But how could something that strange be normal? Dr. Trellin placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did well, Kelza," he said. "This is not your failure. It is a lesson. Our data on humans is still limited. Emotional reactions are just as important as physical ones." Kelza nodded slowly. "Yes, doctor. But I felt something else. When I saw him react, it wasn't fear. It was like energy, a strange heat in the air." The old doctor smiled. "Curiosity is the beginning of understanding, and sometimes something more." Kelza didn't understand what he meant, but she knew her thoughts were no longer calm. She looked back through the glass. The human, Jason, was now sitting up in bed, rubbing his temples. His cheeks still had color. He looked embarrassed. Or maybe tired, or both. "May I speak with him?" Kelza asked quietly. Dr. Trellin nodded. "Ask questions. He might teach you more than we can." Kelza entered the room again. Jason turned toward her quickly, sitting straighter. "Hey, hi," he said, voice unsure. Kelza approached slowly, holding her pad. "Greetings again, Lieutenant Reid. I wanted to confirm your comfort and apologize." "Apologize?" he asked, confused, for mistaking a natural human reaction for inflammation. "I almost applied a cold compression laser." Jason laughed awkwardly and rubbed his neck. "Yeah, that would have been intense." Kelza tilted her head. "So this swelling, it happens often?" Jason almost choked. Yeah. Sometimes, not always, just reactions. It's biology." Kelza nodded. "I have reviewed over 3,000 biological files. Your species is still the only one with this." Jason shrugged. "Yeah, we're weird, but we're proud of it." There was a moment of silence. Kelza sat in the chair beside the bed, something she rarely did. She looked at him carefully. "Can I ask, what causes it, if not pain or infection?" Jason turned even redder. Emotions. Sometimes thoughts. Sometimes nothing. It just happens. We don't always control it." Kelza blinked slowly. "Your own body surprises you?" "Yeah," he said. "Welcome to being human." Kelza wrote something on her pad. "Humans, emotional creatures. Reactive biology, unpredictable patterns," Jason chuckled. "Sounds about right." They both sat quietly for a while. Kelza watched his breathing. Smooth, steady. Her own heart, if it could be called that, was beating a little faster. Not fear, not danger, just curiosity again. Deeper now, heavier. "May I ask you something personal?" Kelza said finally. Jason hesitated. Sure. Do human males feel pain during that state?" Jason's eyebrows shot up. "What? No. Not unless something goes wrong. It's not painful. It's, the opposite." Kelza's head tilted again. The opposite of pain is pleasure? Jason buried his face in his hands. Oh God, this is the weirdest conversation I've ever had. Do not feel shame, Kelza said calmly. Our species speaks openly about biology. There is no embarrassment here. Jason peeked through his fingers. Well, you've got a front row seat to humanity's most awkward traits. And yet, Kelza said, staring at him, you survived a crash. You were unconscious for days, and now you sit here, explaining something uncomfortable with honesty. Jason looked at her. I guess we just try to laugh through it, Kelza smiled gently. Your species is strange, but maybe beautiful. Those words hung in the air. The monitor above the bed blinked softly. Outside, the stars moved slowly past the window. Jason finally relaxed, lying back on the pillows. So, am I cleared to leave soon? Kelza stood. Your bones are healing. Fluids restored, but we must observe you for one more cycle to ensure stability and no more surprise inflammations. Jason laughed. I'll try to behave. As she left the room, Kelza placed a hand on her chest. There was that strange warmth again. No data pad could explain it, but something inside her was changing. The station lights dimmed as the rest cycle began. Most rooms went quiet. Alien nurses floated softly through the halls, adjusting machines, checking vitals. But Kelza was wide awake. Her thoughts were loud, even if the room was still. She sat, alone in the observation room, staring at the data pad. But she wasn't reading anymore. Her eyes were fixed on the human scan, and on the memory of his voice. That strange mix of embarrassment and warmth. It lingered in her mind like a new kind of frequency she didn't know how to shut off. Why do I feel this way? She whispered to herself. Alien species were taught control. Emotion was not weakness, but it had limits. But since that moment, since the reaction, she had felt different. Not confused, but drawn, pulled towards something she couldn't name. And so, just past the third cycle bell, she returned to room 93. Inside, Jason was half awake, watching the ceiling. He turned when he heard her footsteps. Couldn't sleep either? Kelza nodded. My thoughts are active, Jason chuckled softly. Yeah, same. There was a pause. Not heavy, just quiet. Like the space between two stars. Then Kelza spoke. I have a question. More personal than before. Jason blinked. Okay, shoot. Kelza stepped closer, her voice calm. When humans connect emotionally, does it always lead to physical reactions? Jason's eyes widened again. He sat up straighter. You mean, like the one earlier? Kelza nodded. Yes. He rubbed his face. Well, not always. Sometimes it's just a feeling. Sometimes more. Kelza tilted her head. And when it is more, does it mean the human has chosen a mate? Wow, Jason whispered. You go straight to the heavy stuff. Kelza stepped even closer now, standing beside his bed. Her eyes didn't blink. I do not ask to make you uncomfortable. I ask because I do not understand what is happening to me. Jason looked at her carefully now. What do you mean? She paused. Her voice dropped. When you reacted, my body responded too, not the same way, but something moved in me. I felt warmth. I felt interest. No alien ever told me that could happen. The room grew silent. Jason didn't laugh. He didn't tease. Instead, he nodded slowly. Maybe that's how it starts, even for us. Starts? Kelza asked. Connection, he said. We don't always choose it. Sometimes it just shows up. In a look, a moment, a spark, and it grows. Kelza stared at him, her voice soft. I do not want to break the rules, but I want to know if I can sit with you, here, just, not as your nurse, but as Kelza. Jason gave a tired smile. Yeah, I'd like that. She pulled the chair closer and sat, not as a nurse, not as an observer, but as someone curious, and maybe something else. What is Earth like? She asked quietly. Jason grinned. Messy, loud, crowded, beautiful. And humans? Also messy. Also beautiful. Kelza nodded. I think that is what draws me. Jason raised an eyebrow. What? Your chaos, your courage, your warmth. It feels real. He looked down, a little shy. You make us sound like heroes. Maybe you are, she said. Not for your strength, but for your honesty. Outside, the stars moved past the window. Silence returned, but this time it felt warm. Like something unspoken had just been shared. Jason leaned back. Kelza? Yes? Do aliens ever fall for humans? She looked at him, her eyes glowing softly. I don't know, she said. But maybe. One just did. Kelza and Jason sat together in silence. It wasn't the silence of awkwardness. It was the quiet of two different minds learning to rest side by side. The room's lights dimmed to a soft blue, and the gentle hum of machines became like background music to their thoughts. Jason looked at her, still trying to believe this moment was real. Not just because he was on an alien space station, not just because he had nearly died, but because the first being he truly felt safe with wasn't human at all. Kelza, he whispered. Why me? You've met thousands of patients. Why? Do you want to sit here with me? She turned slowly. Because when I look at you, I don't see a subject. I see a question. A question? He asked, confused. Yes. A question I want to answer, but not with data, with time, with presence. He swallowed softly. No one's ever said something like that to me before. Kelza leaned slightly closer. We are not so different, Jason. You feel awkwardness. I feel confusion, but inside, I believe we both feel the same thing. Before he could respond, the door made a soft sound. Click. Both turned their heads. Someone had been outside. Listening. Kelza stood fast, her eyes scanning the corridor. She stepped out quickly, her feet light against the floor. No one was there, only the soft hiss of ventilation and a flickering screen down the hall. But her eyes narrowed. Someone had been there. She returned to the room. We must be careful. This connection. It is not forbidden, but it is not understood by others. And what is not understood is often feared. Jason nodded. You think they'll separate us? Maybe, she said quietly. And I do not want that. Just then, her data pad beeped out a message. Incoming inspection in 1. Cycle Sector Medical Bay, 9 to 3 flagged for behavioral irregularities. Kelz, a single quotes S heart sank. They know, she said. Jason sat up straight. Wait, what do you mean inspection? Someone reported our interaction, she replied, voice steady. They think I've become emotionally compromised. They will question both of us. Double quotes. Jason clenched his jaw. I won't lie. If they ask me what happened, I'll tell them the truth. Kelza looked at him deeply. The truth may not save us. Then what will? She hesitated. Then she walked to the side of the room, pressed her finger on a glowing panel, and opened a hidden compartment behind the wall. Inside was a small device. Jason looked puzzled. What's that? A memory sync core, she said. It lets two minds share thoughts, feelings, directly. It's not legal to use without permission, but if we do this, they will see that what we feel is not danger, it's connection. Jason, step forward. You're saying we link? Yes, she whispered. Only for one moment. Only to show them we are not broken. We are learning. He reached out slowly, then nodded. Let's do it. They placed their hands on the device. The lights around them dimmed further. Soft pulses of blue energy moved between their fingers. The machine buzzed, low, deep, then warm. And in a second, Jason saw everything. Kelza, single quotes S first memory. walking into the medic chamber as a student, nervous but full of hope. Her first patient, a child with gills, crying in fear, whom she calmed with a smile. Her loneliness, staring out at the stars, wondering if anything waited on the other side. And then, her seeing him, Jason, unconscious, broken, but not afraid. And then, he saw himself from her eyes, strong, different, gentle, brave. He gasped. And then it was over. They both staggered back, breathing hard. Jason stared at her. I saw you. I mean, really saw you. Kelza looked up. And I saw you. Now they must too. But outside, someone was already preparing to stop them. A figure in dark robes stood in a command room, replaying audio from outside room 93. Prepare for immediate transfer, the voice said. The human is a risk. And the nurse? Compromised. The screen flashed red. Orders were sent, and in less than one cycle, soldiers would arrive. The air inside room 93 felt heavier. Jason paced slowly, rubbing his temples. Kelza stood by the window, staring at the stars that now seemed further away than ever. Silence sat between them, no longer gentle. Now it felt like a countdown. She turned around. They will come soon, maybe within an hour. Jason frowned. So that's it? We just wait until they drag us apart? Kelza's voice was low but steady. Not unless we act first. He looked up. You have a plan? I have hope, she said, and a way to delay them. Kelza walked to the wall, tapped a hidden control behind the medical display, and brought up a security map of the station. Glowing dots moved across the blueprint. 2 red markers blinked steadily, approaching their wing. They are sending enforcers, she said. Protocol 7. It means removal without trial. Without trial? Jason repeated. That's not justice. It is fear, she replied, his fists clenched. I didn't survive a crash and nearly die just to be treated like a virus. Kelza touched his hand. Then let's give them something they can't ignore. Something true, something honest. He looked at her closely. You're not talking about fighting, are you? No, she said. I'm talking about standing. Together? Yes. The door made a soft beep. Kelza's datapad flashed. Prepare patient for immediate relocation. We have minutes, she said. Jason stepped forward. Then, let's give them the truth. Kelza opened the room's communication panel and accessed the medical bay's main channel. She adjusted the frequency to internal broadcast. It would now reach every officer and nurse on the station. What are you doing? Jason asked. Speaking, she said, not hiding. And then she began. This is Nurse Kelza of Orlan Medical Bay. I am addressing all staff, all command units, and all observers. Today I made a mistake. Not a medical one. Not a technical one. A mistake of fear. Her voice carried across the corridors. Officers paused. Nurses stopped mid-task. Commanders turned toward speakers. I feared what I did not understand, she continued. But now, I do not. Because today, I met a human who taught me something no textbook ever did. He taught me what connection looks like. When it crosses species, culture, even logic. Jason's chest tightened as he listened. She wasn't just defending him. She was sharing her truth. I did not break protocol, Kelza said. I followed something stronger, something honest. If you remove him, you remove the chance to understand what our future could be. Outside room 93, the 2 red markers froze. One of the enforcers touched his ear. Orders suspended. Command wants visual confirmation. Inside the room, Kelza turned to Jason. They want proof. Let's give it. Jason nodded. What do we do? Kelza activated the medical projection sphere. A hologram blinked to life. In the center of the room, it showed the sync memory, not private thoughts, but the shared emotion, trust, understanding, curiosity, warmth. No voices. Just light, heartbeats, and silence. Commanders watching from screens across the station leaned in. No one spoke. Even the head of the ethics board was quiet. And then, someone in command whispered, "I've never seen anything like this." An older officer stood up slowly. "What we fear, maybe what we need most." A soft command followed. "Cancel removal order. Observe further. No interference." Back in room 93, the lights dimmed again. Kelza exhaled. "They are not coming. Not today." Jason looked at her. "What just happened?" "We gave them a choice," she said. "And for now, they chose curiosity over fear." He sat down, his shoulders finally relaxing. "What about tomorrow?" Kelza smiled gently. "We'll face it. Together." And as the station returned to its quiet hum, deep in the command deck, a different conversation began. A new file was opened. Cross-species. Emotional links. Case 1. Kelza plus human. Underneath, the words, "Begin study. High priority." They were no longer just nurse and patient. They were now a question the galaxy had never asked and could no longer ignore. A week passed on Orlan Station. Room 93 was no longer just a recovery space. It had become a place of attention, observation, and quiet awe. Kelza and Jason remained inside, not as nurse and patient now, but as two beings caught between science and something far deeper. Outside, screens showed soft footage of their daily interactions. Not private moments, but carefully chosen clips that had been approved for study. They showed laughter, shared meals, questions and answers. Kelza learning about Earth, Jason learning about the stars. Each clip ended with one simple line on the screen: "Connection observed, no harm detected." But the galaxy was not quiet. On the outer colonies, alien scholars debated the ethics of emotional links with humans. On Earth, video of Jason's smile beside an alien nurse's gentle eyes spread across news networks. In secret corners of power, commanders whispered of future missions where emotion could be used as a tool or a threat. But inside room 93, none of that mattered. Kelza sat beside Jason, her hand near his. Not touching, just close enough to feel warmth. "You are healing well," she said with a soft smile. "Thanks to you," he replied. "But I think my heart's changed more than my bones." She tilted her head. "Hearts can break and grow stronger. And maybe love." Jason looked into her eyes. "You believe in love?" "I didn't," she admitted. "Not until I met you." A soft knock at the door broke the silence. It slid open. Two officers stood there, one human, one alien. Both wore white robes of the new Interspecies Ethics Alliance. "May we enter?" the human asked. Kelza stood. "You may." They walked in calmly, holding a glowing sphere between them. The lead alien officer spoke. "Kelza, Jason, the council has reviewed your case. Emotional bond between nurse and patient, especially across species, has never been recorded at this depth. It frightened many, inspired others, but above all, it opened a question." "What question?" Jason asked. The human officer smiled. "Can love between species be real? Not manipulation, not curiosity, but real, mutual, deep?" Kelza looked at Jason. "We don't have the answer to that yet, but we want to find it," Jason added. The officers placed the sphere between them. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. "This is a unity beacon," the alien said. "If you both choose to touch it at the same time, it sends a message to every station, colony, and ship connected to the Council's net." "What kind of message?" Kelza asked. The human officer stepped forward. "Just one line." He lifted a small screen and showed it. "Connection is not weakness. It is strength." Kelza's breath caught in her chest. Jason looked at her. "Only if you want to." She nodded. "Yes." Together, they reached out. Their fingers touched the sphere. A wave of light burst gently from it. Not harsh, not loud. Just calm, steady, and warm. Across the galaxy, command rooms and universities received the signal. Some smiled, some frowned. Some wept. And in a small outpost on a forgotten moon, a lonely alien medic whispered, "Maybe we're not so different after all." Back on Orlan Station, the officers bowed and left. Kelza turned to Jason. "What now?" he smiled. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." They sat again beside each other, looking out the window into deep space. The stars blinked, and for the first time in galactic history, two species sat not as strangers, but as something more.